Welcome everyone, this is Zozo Stockwatch, and this is your Let's Get Ready for the Week Ahead, August 14th through the 18th. Well, the market, the big calm is gone. As the VIX rips up, investors turn cautious on the war of words. Biggest weekly losses in months. Markets down for the week. So let's go ahead and get into some charts and the markets, and we'll take a look and see what's going on. And so as you can see, it's a little more dramatic if you look at a daily chart of the NASDAQ here, and we broke down through the 50 SMA on the NASDAQ. We did recover a little bit on Friday, and if you look at this weekly chart, the blue chart, we're trying to hold and maintain this 10 SMA on the weekly chart for the NASDAQ. Next up, we'll just take a quick look at the utilities, and they remain above the 10 SMA. We also have the Dow Jones transport average, and that's currently trying to hold that above that 9,000 and the 50 SMA on the Dow Jones, but we are below the 10 SMA on the transports on the weekly. If we look at the daily chart, we're hanging around this 200 SMA and above that 9100 on the Dow transports, and that's also can be followed with the IYT, and doing the same thing, trying to hold this 200 SMA area for the transports. You see we held the IYT here and bounced off it. Now we're trying to reestablish. We hit it here, we bounced off, we're pulling back. But the bulls are coming in and buying around this 200 SMA on the transports. So we'll see what they want to do with that. As far as the Dow Jones 30 themselves, we'll take a look at that. And we talked about this hitting of the Bollinger Bands. And I'll go ahead and add those in real fast. And we came up with this candle, and we came right up to the top Bollinger Band. Then we had to see what the next candle wanted to do, and then we broke the lows here. We got below the 5 EMA, and now we're trying to hang on to this 20 SMA on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So currently we're going to have to watch this 21,800 area on the Dow Jones 30. So keep your eye on that for next week. You do have that big defensive name in the Dow and Boeing. So right now this is the leader in the Dow Jones. It was obvious it was going to pull back some, but it is still holding above the rising 20 SMA on Boeing. So this is greatly going to affect the Dow Jones. So keep an eye on that. And what all the news and going on with Korea and whatnot, Boeing being an aerospace and defense company, I don't think it's going to lose too much ground. So the Dow, as long as Boeing stays strong, probably the Dow will remain, relatively strong. Let's go ahead and we'll take a quick look at the dollar on the daily chart. This is the U.S. dollar index. And, it looks kind of like a bear flag. We're below the 20 SMA, and we've remained below the 20 SMA on the daily chart. If we look at it on the weekly chart, we are at the 200 SMA on the weekly chart for the US dollar, and that's around that $92 area. So there's a lot of folks watching this 92 spot on the dollar. So keep your eye on that on the weekly chart. If we do break 92, your guess is as good as mine where we're going next on the dollar, but you would think $90 is the round number. Maybe we would see that if this 200 breaks on the weekly for the dollar. Next up, we do have gold getting some buying. This is the GDX. This is the gold miners, but not as much as you would think with gold moving up. I guess they are trying to reestablish and break above those Bollinger Bands again. Let me go ahead and take those off because I just wanted to use them for the Dow chart, and we'll go ahead and remove that now. So we are trying to reestablish and get back above that 23 area for GDX. Next up, we have the junior gold miners. And this is starting to break back above the 100 SMA on the daily chart. As far as the weekly chart, it still has a lot of work to do for the GDX, but you would think there would be more buying in these names, but I think people have gotten burnt so bad in the individual names that they're just buying the the ETF. Here's the GLD. You see it's coming up to that resistance area around 124. We'll call it 123 and change on the GLD, and this is the weekly. And we'll go ahead and get rid of this line. So you see this kind of channel we were in, and now we're up at the top of this channel, and so that is a resistance area. If we look at the daily chart, you can see it a little more clearly. We've hit this before, we hit it again here, and now we're coming up to it. This looks like a better candle, so we'll see if they want to get us over that 123 and change spot on the GLD. But you see it's kind of been a W, right? Looks like a W. All right, and so this channel has held. Now we're going to break out above that channel on the GLD, so stay tuned. But if this war of words keeps heating up with Trump and Korea, and then if now China is getting involved, well, they've been involved, but I believe they spoke over the weekend, Trump and the Chinese leader. Next up, we'll just take a quick look at HACK as I go kind of around the horn and take a look at different sectors. So this is the security name, cybersecurity, and trying to hold that 2850, but chart doesn't look very good. We're below the 200, so hack not looking too interesting. The IBB, we came up, we broke above resistance, did it a couple of times, and now we've pulled back. We are trying to maintain this breakout level here, and we'll call it 305, 304 area. So this is where we broke out above, and now we've pulled back to it. So let's see if the bulls can reestablish momentum here and push us back up. We are below the 50 SMA on the daily chart for the IBB. The IWC, the micro small caps, couldn't get up through and hold above that 90 area, and now it's pulling back to about the 84 area, and that's kind of a big area around that 84, 83.50 spot for the IWC. IWM also pulling back now after this false breakout, I guess we could say, and now pulling back to the 200 SMA. Let's see if we can hold that, and this 134 area has a lot of eyes on it. We hit it here, bounced off, we came down close to it here, bounced up. We've hit it several times, so let's see what they want to do if we get down to that 134, if they're going to establish another run up on the IWM. IYT we spoke about. JETS, which is the ETF for airlines, hanging around this 150 SMA, has a nice hammer candle here. Now we're going to have to see if we get any kind of continuation in JETS. JJC, the copper, hanging around the highs. This is the copper ETF, so the high was around that 34 level. Slight pullback, not too much, and then on the weekly chart you can see how it broke out above the 200 SMA on the weekly, pushed up to 34, and now it's kind of this inverted hammer on the weekly, so we'll see if they're going to continue it back up or pull back down to maybe that 200 SMA for a retest. OIH, continued weakness in the oil sector and the OIH. This 20 area looks pretty important. We had spiked down to it once before, natural round number, so it looks like we might be headed back down to 20 on the OIH. QQQ, this one remaining above the 10 SMA, came down to it, held it on the weekly, the light blue line you see here. And then we look at it on the daily chart, and you see it's holding this 50 SMA on the Qs. ROBO, this is the Robotics and Automation ETF, and this is trying to hold the 50 SMA. It's been quite strong. It was due for a pullback, and now we'll see if they can hold the 50 SMA on ROBO. Silver, nice pop in silver the last few days, nice gap up. But still a lot of work to do. Needs to get over maybe 1630, 1625, maybe for a possible continuation move in SLV, the silver ETF. If we look at it on the weekly chart, we see this nice weekly candle. Volume came in, but we still are below the 50 SMA on the weekly and the 200 on the weekly for silver. SLX, these are the steel, this is the steel ETF, holding above the 10 SMA, but now with all the things on Trump's plate, is infrastructure going to get done? That's the key. That's part of his agenda for stocks like US Steel, AKS, and things like that. So now we're going to have to see if that's still going to be on his agenda, or is that going to be put on the back burner. So here we have SLX, the silver ETF, pulling down to the 200 SMA on the daily, holding above the 50 SMA. SMH, you know, the leader, you see how volatile it can get. So got up to this 90 spot here, couldn't get as high, and we got as high as $88. Would have to get back over that 88 to get back on trend here. We are holding above the 100 SMA and that 84 spot on the SMH. On the weekly, we did push below the 10 SMA, but still holding above the 20 SMA on the weekly, which is at that 83.26 spot. So that's a big number for the SMH, 83.25 we'll call it. For the SPY itself, we came up to 248.91-ish. So we'll call it 249, and we've pulled back from there after this gorgeous run. And you know, bulls have to be very happy with this move. There was bound to be, you know, some reason to take something off the table. We are only pulling back currently to the 10 SMA on the weekly chart. If we look at the daily chart, you know, it looks a little more dramatic as far as the candle goes. And once again, if you put the Bollinger Bands on here, and we had that spike up through the Bollinger Bands, and what they say is when you get a spike up through, you usually get a follow through down. Not always, nothing is 100%, but in this case we did get the spike up through. Then we got the next candle, it broke the lows, and now a slight bounce on Friday. You know, now the 50 SMA is currently acting as a resistance spot for the SPY, and I'll tighten that up for you. But we're still in this nice uptrend. We're still above the 100 SMA, and like we said on the weekly, we just came down basically to the 10 SMA area and trying to hold that, and we're still above the 20 SMA on the weekly. Next up, we'll take a look at the UNG. I haven't looked at it for a while. It is getting a little bit of a bounce after the numbers came out on Thursday for natural gas. It got a little bit of a bounce, trying to get back above the 10 SMA on the UNG. On the daily chart, looks like an ADR, you know, it pops, drops, pops, drops. Not much volume, not much players in this right now. So I don't really have much to say about it right now. USO, something that a lot of folks are watching was that $50 break for oil, and we'll go ahead and take a look at that. Here's the light sweet crude WTI oil ETF, and you know, couldn't break above and hold above 50, so we pulled back, and we're trying to hold this 48 100 SMA. And then on our weekly chart, basically, you see the two tops here kind of at that 50 area. So 50 is the number that the bulls want to get above. And so maybe with this action going on in Venezuela, more of that in a moment. But, you know, maybe with this action in Venezuela, maybe oil will start moving up again. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the spiders. We'll take a look at the XLE, and on the weekly chart you see we're kind of still trending down, couldn't get above the 100 SMA. On the daily chart, you know, now we're breaking down below these Bollinger Bands on the XLE, couldn't get above and hold above the yellow line you see here, the 50 SMA. So now we're pulling back off of that and remain under the 5 EMA, the white dotted line you see there on the daily. The XLF, you know, once again, the spike up through the Bollinger Band, through that 25-50 area, and now we're pulling back from it, but we are pulling back to the 50 SMA. When you see some of these 50 SMAs getting broke, then you have to figure, you know, you're going to head down to the 100 SMA, and you know, right now, you know, we'll see if we can hold this 50 SMA on the XLF, and then on the weekly chart, the XLF basically just pulling back down to the 10 SMA on your weekly chart for the XLF. Next up, we'll take a look at XME, and that's trying to hold above the 200 SMA on the XME. After that spike up on the weekly and a pullback on the daily chart. Pretty much same thing, spiked up through these Bollinger Bands and pulling back now to the 100 SMA. So we'll see what they want to do with the metals and mining ETF. Let me see if there was anything else that I wanted to go over as far as you know, the indexes and whatnot. Just checking on my notes. Yeah, we'll take out a look at the VIX before I forget. And obviously the VIX, you know, this was the calm is gone comment that I made in the beginning of the video. And as you can see, the VIX did pop and did move up over that 16. But now, what are you going to do for us now? I mean, we've done this before, and then we pulled back from it. So is there going to be more fear coming into the market? I guess the only way we could tell is with the overnight futures on Sunday night, and those open up at 6 p.m. for the futures. Next up, let's see, we looked at the UUP XLF, we looked at the NASDAQ. We will take a look at some news headlines. You know, these are going to be around for next week also. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of these news headlines. And we'll start with North Korea, Trump to ramp up trade pressure on China with call for probe on Monday. So, you know, it's still heating up. Next up, we had Trump maybe fire and fury statement on North Korea wasn't tough enough. And then we have Trump, I'm not going to rule out military options in Venezuela. So things are still heating up, and you know, a lot of rhetoric out there. So this is going to keep pressuring the market. It's hard to invest and stay invested when, you know, possible chance of maybe, you know, nuclear war or missiles flying through the air. So you know, just be cognizant of that when starting any positions for the next week or so. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the news that came out Friday after the bell. ISRG 3-for-1 split coming on September 22nd, and that's for ISRG. Let's see, what else do we have? TNXP 150 million shelf filed. ATRS 30 million ATM offered through Cowen. Here's the information on Trump plans to speak with China president, and they have spoken. And let's see, what else do we have? We had some Netflix is on the cover of Barron's, and I'll go ahead and show you that cover. Let's see if this will work. Oh, it did. Okay, cool. So here's the cover of Barron's. Cash and burning Netflix is vulnerable as Disney shies away, Amazon looms, and Facebook muscles into video. Shares could fall 50%. So Netflix makes the cover of Barron's. As far as some insider purchases after hours on Friday, over plus 100K. SRC director purchased 14K. SSNC director purchased over 14K. APL, see a couple of purchases here. EGRX director purchased over 20K. AAT CEO purchased over 63,000. The Revlon director, sorry about that, Revlon director purchased 280,000, over 280,000. TBPH, couple of purchases there on TBPH. NVTR CEO purchased 10K. IPI, a 10% owner, Clearway, purchased over 400,000 shares. And HPP director purchased 25K. Some syndicate news that came out on Friday. AJX filed Form S3. ARMK filed Form S3. ATRS filed 424B5. BXMT, closing of public offering. DCP filed Form S3. JKS filed Form F3, and SF filed Form S3, 500 million mixed shelf security shelf, excuse me. Barron's we spoke about. Barron's was also positive on Microsoft. Technological trader column sees 20% upside for Microsoft. GD Barron sees more military spending helping lift shares another 35%, and that's for GD. We do have some earnings and whatnot we're going to get into in a moment. So from Earnings Whisper, some of your earnings before the bell on Monday, August 14th, CSIQ, JD, and SYY, Cisco. Some of the other names reporting after the bell on Monday, CGIX, DGLY, DAVE, GALE, GALE, WPRT, TEAR, TEAR, is the symbol there for tier. So those will be reporting after the bell on Monday. For Tuesday, we have COH, Coach, Home Depot, DKS, which is also Dick's Sporting Goods, Dick's Sporting Goods, Home Depot, as I mentioned, TJX, TJ Maxx. So that's reporting Tuesday before the open. Agilent will be reporting after the bell on Tuesday. Urban, URBN, also reporting Wednesday before the bell. We have American Eagle, AEO, CTRN, Target, TGT. After the bell on Tuesday, we have BGG, CACI, CSCO, which is Cisco, and L Brands, NTAP, SPTN, TOUR, VIPS, VIPS. So, and OSIS will be reporting earnings after the close on Wednesday, and then before the bell opens on Thursday, August 17th, we got the BABA, BABA, BITA, BITA, BKE, CATO, MSG, SPLS, Walmart will be reporting Thursday before the bell. After the bell, we have AMAT, AMAT, BZUN, EFII, GLOB, ROAST, ROST, SPWH, VVUS, and Zoe's Kitchen will be reporting, and also Gap Stores reporting on that Thursday after the close. GPS. Friday, August 18th, we have Deere, DE, ST Lauder, EL, Foot Locker, FL, and Hibbett's Sporting Goods, HIBB. So that's some of your earnings coming up, as you can see here by our friends at Earnings Whisper. And this is a nice visual for the earnings coming up. So earnings season, we still do have some bigger names, like I said, Cisco, Target, Walmart, some retailers coming out. So people are going to be watching how these retailers are doing. Last week, the retailers took a big hit after their earnings, such names as, Macy's and Nordstrom's, JWN. All right, so there's your earnings for the week coming up. And don't forget, this is Earnings Cast. This is where you can get all your conference call information and listen in if you so choose. CSIQs on a conference call Monday, EBIO, and as you can see, they're listed here. And then we go into Tuesday and so on. So you can get all your earnings, earningscast.com, and check out their calendar for the earnings cast, and just click on it to get a, if you want to listen to the earnings. So we'll go ahead and get into some of the best stocks for the week. That passed, and the first one up is Coors, which was up 21%. KORS, and that was after they announced their earnings. You're looking at a weekly chart of Coors, and that was up 21% for the week. PAAS, silver name, Pan American Silver, was up 10% for the week. SSRM was up for the week 12% for the week. GOLD, gold name, was up 4% for the week. TRIP was also up for the week, and that was up 7%. HTZ, big winner last week. HTZ Hertz was up over 30% for the week. CAR was also up 8% for the week. HDSN, they got a contract and they were up 9% for the week. CYH was up 14% for the week on CYH. DRYS, never thought I'd be posting this name, but this was up 126% for the week on DRYS, shipping name. ADOM, nice pop for them, up 65% for the week. YELP, up 5% for the week, so maybe more to go in Yelp. WTW gained a nice 16% for the week on Weight Watchers and Oprah there. CUTR was up 33% for the week. ASYS up 17% for the week. JRJC up 17% for the week. MYOK up 114% for the week. Next up we have some of the inverses, and anything that was dealing with the VIX was up nicely because of the traders were looking for protection, and so TVIX was up 44% for the week. UVXY was up 45% for the week. Back to stocks, TCO was up 56% for the week, and SGMO, which may have more to go, SGMO was up 19% for the week. So that's some of your best stocks for the week, and now I'll be back with some of your worst stocks for the week. Some of your worst stocks for the week, and we start off with JCPenney down 28% for the week. So retailers got hit again. DDS, Dillard's down 20% for the week. KSS down, Kohl's down 8% for the week. Macy's down 12% for the week. SLB, as we move into some of the oils and some of the components that make up the OIH, that was down 5% for the week. RIG was down 8% for the week. Netflix took a little bit of a hit this week with Disney, making that announcement. Was down about 5% for the week on Netflix, and Disney was also down about a little over 5% for the week. TRUE was down 17% for the week on True. GEMP down 54% for the week. ETRM down 48% for the week. ZYNE down 53% for the week. BBOX down 49% for the week. TOPS down 25%. BW, Babcock and Wilcox, down 71% for the week. RTNB down 66% for the week. DEPO down 33% for the week. SGRY down 43% for the week, and you see that big drop in SGRY. VSI down 38% for the week. Vitamin Shop, which is another retailer. And lastly, Snap, after their earnings, was down 13% for the week. So that's some of your worst stocks for the week. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the economic information you have coming out next week. So we'll go ahead and move this over to Monday the 14th through Friday the 18th, and this is from our good friends, the Trade Exchange. And so for economic information coming out, not very much on Monday at all, so very light Monday for economic information. As the week progresses, we have Tuesday the 15th, and we have import and export prices at 8:30, Empire State Manufacturing Survey at 8:30, retail sales at 8:30, Red Book at 8:55 a.m. Eastern Time, business inventories at 10 a.m., housing market index at 10 a.m. The API, it comes out on Tuesday. That's at 4:30 p.m. So watch that if you're trading oil or oil related stocks. The API at 4:30 on Tuesday. Next up on Wednesday, we do have the Italian GDP coming out at 4 a.m. We also have at 7 a.m. MBA mortgage applications, 8:30 housing starts, 10 a.m. Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations, that's at 10 a.m. EIA petroleum oil status at 10:30, that's on Wednesday the 16th. We do have some numbers coming out from Japan on Wednesday night. We do also have, the FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. So no decision, no rate decision, and just the minutes from the last meeting, and that's at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. For your economic information coming out on Thursday, Philadelphia Fed Business Outlook and Survey, initial jobless claims at 8:30. 10 o'clock e-commerce retail sales, leading indicators, 10:30. Watch your UNG ETF, natural gas. And we do have some Fed speak coming up on Thursday. We have Robert Kaplan and Neil Kashkari will be speaking, one at 1 p.m., one at 1:45 p.m., and that's on Thursday the 17th. Some Fed speak just to carry that over. Robert Kaplan again at 10:15 a.m. on Friday the 18th. Consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. on Friday the 18th, and the Baker Hughes, watch that oil, USO, and watch the WTI, 1 p.m. Baker Hughes rig count. That'll be coming out at Friday at 1 p.m. So not too hectic a week for economic information, but a few key numbers may come out for oil, so keep track of those. So we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the leaders in the market. We'll look at Apple, and we did get a pullback. We're holding above the and let me remove these Bollinger Bands for you. Sorry, I clear that up. And we'll get rid of this too. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look at Apple. It did pull back. It's holding above the 10 SMA on Apple, holding above the 20. The 50 SMA is flattish, but we do have a rising 200 SMA. So, watch that 160 area for Apple if we can get back through it. And this right now looks like watch that 20 SMA, which is currently at 153.51. So watch that 153 spot. Next up, Amazon, one of the leaders, obviously came down to the 100 SMA. So let's see what they want to do here. If they want to, maintain this 100 SMA and consolidate for Amazon. Next up, we have Google. And we'll take a look at Google. Same thing, holding this 100 SMA. Let's see if they can turn it back up with Google. Netflix, with that being on the cover of Barron's over the weekend, we'll see if they can hold this above the 50 SMA on the daily chart for Netflix. Next up, we have Tesla, and we'll see if this can hold above the 50 SMA on the daily chart for Tesla. A couple of others, NVIDIA, pulled back down after earnings, which were pretty good, but the growth slowed down a little bit. So, it had to come in with a perfect earnings. And when you see, a chart like this, it was really, really parabolic. You knew that a pullback was coming, but still holding above and near the 10 SMA on the weekly chart on NVIDIA. We'll take a look at Priceline. This one popped and dropped down, but still hanging around this 100 SMA for Priceline. And we'll just take a quick look at a bank. JP Morgan popped and pulling back here. Looks like it's going to make a 50 SMA test for JP Morgan. Citigroup, same thing on that name. Bank America, probably, that one is at the 50 SMA already. So it looks like it may test the 100 SMA for Bank America. BABA, which has earnings next week, trying to hold above the 50 SMA on the daily chart. We'll just take a look at some bigger names in the bio. Amgen trying to hold that 169 area. And lastly, we'll take a look at Celgene. And next to lastly, I should say, Celgene down here pulled back to the 50 SMA. So these are all the big guns that are going to have to help the IBB. And now lastly, BIIB trying to hold above the 200 SMA on the daily chart here. All right, so that's going to be it for the let's get ready for the week ahead. You're more ready for the week ahead than you were before with that information. Don't forget, there'll be a stocks to watch video coming out on Sunday. I hope you enjoy these videos. please retweet them, hit that like button, and also share them with your friends and family. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Zozo Stockwatch, and you are definitely more ready for the week ahead than you were before.